Hello and welcome back to Shelf Center. This is Bryce. Thank you so much for stopping by. Thanks for liking and subscribing. If this is something you end up enjoying, you never know, it could happen. Hey, this is my monthly wrap up for the month of March and then also my TBR for April. So let's get started. March, how did March go? Actually, it wasn't great, but three books. Three books is my total for the month. I have excuses, don't worry. But what it comes down to is in my last video I'd mentioned I'm going to let myself mood read a little bit. So what can happen and may have happened a little bit is then I dabbled in enough things that I didn't actually finish a whole book like I typically would have otherwise, with more pointed and purposeful reading. But here we are. So anyway, my three books, one of them being a very short one, and the other two being one of them a healthy size, and then I did get halfway through my next book, which will be the first book for April. First things first, Asylum Confessions. This is Asylum Confessions, actually number 2 that I found for some reason instead of number 1, which I have not read, by Jack Steen. This is just a collection of a bunch of essentially last confessions of people in this asylum, and they're like murderers, and they're not in there for nice reasons. And so Steen's got some stories. I'm not exactly sure how true or what. The way they're told is essentially Steen is the narrator of this, and he's met with people and he even says, I'm not an author, but I wanted to get these stories out. So I'm like, is it real? I have to actually go look into that, I guess, a little bit more. But they are very, very well told stories, at least the stories themselves. There's some evidence of him not being an actual author. That's fair. But overall, I think just the powerful stories, they're pretty intense, and actually and to a level make you kind of at least understand, if not feel, for these people. But there's some understanding there, and they're just, motives and all these things. Anyway, it's super creepy. I hope it's not real, to be honest, but I don't know, it probably is. Then I read Saint Elspeth by Wick Welker. I talked about this already in a review. I'm that much ahead for once in my life that I already did the review before I'm talking about it in a weekly update or a monthly update. And absolutely, if you see that review, absolutely just adored the story. It's a great post-apocalyptic story, look at alien invasion, kind of a first contact. I love the perspective. The main character is a doctor, Dr. Elspeth, and she's essentially kind of like one of the last doctors around, and there's only so much you can do when you're running out of all the medications and all the things. And she's not necessarily a surgeon, but has had to learn some things. And so there's, in this kind of post-apocalyptic landscape, and then just kind of some of the political machinations and whatnot going on. It's all set in California. It was really, really well told. It's just really cool. It's great example of write what you know. And so Wick Welker is an MD doctor, and so is the main character here. So definitely felt very true to life. All the medical mumbo jumbo and jargon and whatnot, but I loved the sense of you treat, you help. You help even if you're not friendly with the person. If you can help, you have the ability to help, you should. And I liked that kind of theme of this a lot. And finally, rounding out this month of books that I actually finished instead of just got slightly a little bit into, or a little more into, we'll see. Wisdom of Crowds by Joe Abercrombie. This is Age of Madness number 3, the final in the trilogy of the Age of Madness, and it's great. To be honest, to just not even have a clue, I don't even know why I try to think and postulate as to where Abercrombie's going. Would never have guessed kind of the twists and turns, the twists and turns that have happened, especially starting with The Trouble with Peace and then going into the Wisdom of Crowds. Very, very excellently done. This is a very low magic series. There's definitely some magic and some prognostication, I guess you could call it. I'm gonna call it that. But again, has Abercrombie, like what he's known for is taking a great trope. Like there's a character that should be a main character, well, and is a main character, but should be like your main hero protagonist, so to speak. And yes, that was a Snow Crash reference. And to twist it and to really mess with it and to turn it on you, and he did it. He does it. And then how is one of my favorite characters, the rich, spoiled brat, noble prince? And anyway, it is so, anyway, it's typical Abercrombie, just well done characters that have great sayings. I mean, really, my main problem anymore is just that this is evidence yet, well, it's great sayings, but it is still using a lot of the same ones, right? We're still quoting Dogman in this one. We're still like quoting those characters from the first law trilogy, right? With Blade itself and everything, and lots of references to the Bloody Nine and all this. So that's one where I'm like, I want to see Abercrombie. I know he's developed this great world, but I want to see him go beyond it and outside it and see where he goes with that. All right, my TBR, let's look into April. Like I said, I've already started, and I'm over halfway through The Well of Ascension, Book 2 in the Mistborn trilogy by Brandon Sanderson. This is the OG Mistborn trilogy. So we're making our way through. I can kind of see where people kind of are like, the Final Empire, the first book, is like the best. It's just got a really great plot, and this kind of does feel like, all right, now we're pushing through beyond it. And it's maybe a little slower. It's still great, and it's lots of fun, but it's definitely, I could see where people are going, it's not their favorite in the trilogy, that's for sure, typically, at least from what I hear. But it's still good. It's still got great use of the magic, and Vin really pushing herself, and as she's pushing, we get to explore how this magic system really works, and we get lots of information, lots of different things that we learn along the way about this world, the history, everything, the Lord Ruler, and all that, and what actually happened, and so that's really cool. It's really good to get that information. But like I said, I could see where people are like, I mean, the Final Empire was pretty well capped off, I guess, with a great kind of ending and everything. Then going into the rest of the month, I kind of am a little bit in limbo, and I kind of don't want to commit too much. I kind of like this feeling of mood reading a little bit. But anyway, some things that I have on my radar. One of them is a read-along or a buddy read that may or may not be sooner rather than later, so I probably want to finish it sooner than later, but there isn't really a good solid time frame on it. But this is going to be The Lions of Al Rassan by Guy Gavriel Kay. This has been on my shelf for ages, but also on my list for even longer. Love Tigana, and I can't wait. This is supposed to be, Tigana and Lions are pretty much the big ones recommended to people by Guy Gavriel Kay, so I'm very excited to read it. I'm glad it wasn't even my recommendation, and I'm very glad to be jumping into it because of all the great things I've heard about it. Other books I'm looking at, maybe System Collapse, The Last in the Murder Bot. I know I've talked about that before. It's an easy one to fit in. Anyway, and I have it, so might as well do it. And again, time to finish off that series, but I did realize, I'm like, maybe I need to figure out where I'm at and do some readings of some summaries before I really jump into it. It's been a hot second since I read the last one, and the last one wasn't even, the last one's like a prequel to the main novel, so it didn't even have the like, it's not even like the most up to date. And then I think System Collapse, as I understand it, follows the actual novel, which is like book, what is it, 4 or 5? 5, I think. Anyway, so I need to do maybe a video of explaining that when I actually figure it out at some point. All right, other thoughts are, I've been challenged through a friend on X/Twitter to read Sandman Slim by Richard Kadrey. I've also been recommended by Brian Bell of BellTube fame to read Richard Kadrey, so I'm like, okay, well, I think I got to read it by now, and it seems like it'd be right up my alley. I've liked books that seemed very similar, and I love Dresden, so you know, seems like it's along the same lines. And she agreed to read Heroes Die, which I just kind of want. I'm forcing this on more and more people lately for some reason. I want to get people's opinion. I think the premise of it is so cool. So go look that up. I mean, come on, future world, sending people into a fantasy world. I mean, it's like, isn't that like insanely cool? So I want her to read that, so I got to read my Sandman Slim, which, I mean, it's terrible. I know it'll be rough. Also been tempted by Oathbringer, getting back into the Stormlight, finally getting kind of ready for the final book that should be coming out later this year. The final book in the first 5 books, sorry, didn't mean final book in Stormlight Archive, because there's 5 more after this final book of the first 5 books. There you go. Helpful as always, I know. And then also considering More Than a Vampire by J.R. Carroll, which would be furthering my TBR that I set earlier in the year, or actually at the end of last year for this year. So those are kind of what I'm juggling, but maybe something else will come up. There's so much, and I want to read it all already. But it's a great problem to have. It's one of my favorite problems to ever have, to always have too much. Anyway, thanks so much for stopping by. What are you reading? What's going on in your life? Let me know in the comments below. Love catching up, and we'll catch you later. Bye.